Welcome to another exciting episode of the SimTech podcast. I'm your host Craig, and today we're diving into the fascinating world of development and innovation in clinical simulation. Joining me is Phil from Limbs and Things, a pioneer in creating high-quality simulation tools for healthcare professionals. Together, we'll explore the journey of bringing innovative products to life, the challenges and opportunities faced in this rapidly evolving field, and what the future holds for clinical simulation technologies. Whether you're a seasoned technician or just starting out, this episode is packed with insights and inspiration. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the SimTech podcast. Today we're going to be talking to Limbs and Things. And today we've got a very special guest. We have Phil Barker, who is, I want to say he's been sent my way because Daryl, I know almost certainly he will be listening. I feel like he's kind of ducked me a little bit and sent Phil my way. Welcome, Phil.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, no, definitely a little bit of that, I think. A little bit of pass around the email chain going, oh, who wants to do this? Oh, Phil will be up for it. So, yeah.
Well, you know, your reputation precedes you then. Oh, Lord, you know, you could be a little bit of a scapegoat, or, you know, you're just so good at talking that they thought, you know, you're the right man for the job.
Yeah, no, I think they probably want me out of the office for an hour or so they get some work done.
All right, Phil, do you want to give us a little bit of an introduction, introduce yourself and what your role is at Limbs and Things?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on. I'm Phil, so I'm the head of product management here at Limbs and Things, newly appointed to the role. So we are, so the product management team, we're sort of the interface, I suppose, between the customers and our development team. So as a general idea of what we do and what we try and do in our team is almost be the internal customer. So our job is to go find out exactly what yourselves as customers and clinicians need from your test trainers, from your simulation tools, and we bring that back in. We speak to the R&D teams, and then we're there to always hold the development to account to make sure that the product that those guys come up with meets the needs and expectations, so we can get some effective training from it.
Wow! And how did you find this role? I mean, what's your background?
So, as everyone in product management has a bit of a varied background to get to it. It's not a standard degree that you can do. So my background. To go back, I feel like I'm getting slightly old now. So when it starts going past over the 10 years since I've been at university, I was going, oh wow. So my background was biomedical sciences. So I did a biomedical sciences degree in Bristol. As always, finished the degree, didn't necessarily know what I wanted to do with my life, with my career. So always had a passion for education at that point in my life, which still continues to today. So I decided to pursue a postgraduate in secondary school teaching. So I specialised in biology and had a little foray into physics as well, because the math side and real numbers, tentative things is something that's great. So yeah, did a postgrad in education and started working in a school. So did that for a little bit. And decided it wasn't quite right for me. Fantastic and loved what I did and loved the kids, but it's quite a steady state of what you're learning. We're not always at the cutting edge. So decided medtech is probably something that I wanted to do. So joined a medical devices company which specialised in respiratory medicine, so humidification, home oxygen therapy, things like that, and wormed my way, probably say that, wormed my way through a few different jobs there, and ended up in product management. Worked with them for a good number of years, and then moved to Bristol, where I live now, and was looking for a more local job to settle down and whatnot, and saw Limbs and Things and just a few things about them. Just thought this is destiny almost. So I thought I've got to apply for a job. So yeah, applied for a few jobs here.
Is Limbs and Things in Bristol then, or is their main HQ in Bristol, or is it kind of a remote job?
No. So we're based down in Bristol. So I could not believe my luck when I found them. So we've got the full HQ is in Bristol. We're right by the train station, Temple Mead. So a really great spot. We've got the full factory here as well. So we've got everything from R&D. So we've got about 25, 30 members of an R&D team. We've got engineering. We've got sales. We've got customer service, and we've got a full production center downstairs. So not everything's so like some of the plastic parts are made here, but everything's final assemblies, everything's done here in the Bristol office. So it's fantastic. It's really good to have that in-person experience where I can walk over from my desk, go chat to R&D. We can go into the workshop. We can see things happening. We can get hands-on with some of these products, and then also in terms of then when we want to come out and see customers, see how things are done, we can get straight out. And obviously, we're so lucky in the UK to have a really forward-thinking bunch of simtechs and the simulation community that we can interact with and get great ideas from. So yeah, having the full setup in Bristol is really great. We've got a few remote sales offices, predominantly in Australia and then the US, where we've got some direct sales teams. But yeah, everything's done in Bristol, which is really cool.
I imagine it's a little bit like Frankenstein's lair when you walk into Limbs and Things. I bet there's body parts everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. When you see people sit downstairs waiting for their interviews and things like that, you're like, you're in for a treat. You're in for an absolute treat. Walking around the factory is brilliant. It's like a turnaround and guess what body part's going to be there. Some are more appropriate than others, have to say. So there's always a few good ones. And yeah, it's always great for a tour. So we do love, we do love inviting people down. So if anyone ever wants to come down, get in touch with someone, and we're more than happy, really proud of what we do here and the factory setup. So yeah, we love showing people around. Who do we have recently? We've had the BBC, Points West, the local station round at some points last year, and we had the mayor of the west of England, Dan Norris, come and have a look around. So they always love a photo op with some of the products.
Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned that you almost said it's a factory. So in my head, is that where everything's kind of made there? Is there loads of machines and molds and all these kind of things? I imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been through a number of renovations. So I've only been here for just coming up to 3 years now. So I started just before the latest renovation, and it's really cutting edge now. So we've got some amazing machinery that's there to improve efficiencies and reduce the amount that we waste effectively. So when we're the parts we use are made of silicon, so not the most easily recyclable material. So it's not the best in those respects. Many amazing properties. So what we want to try and do is minimize the amount that we can put in to the products, minimize the amount that we have to throw away, those sorts of things. So we've got an amazing new machine that can basically make bespoke silicon mixes for our products. So it's really cool. You walk around, it's a bit like inside the factory, where you walk around, you can get a good tour and you can see what's going on. And yeah, you can sort of follow that whole journey from parts coming in either raw material or different bits of plastics, and you can follow it through to the final product. It's really cool.
Yeah, you sound very passionate about what you do. Do you have a favourite model?
I do. I've got a few favourite models because I'm greedy like that. My favourite one, and it's a bit of a personal reason, is the PromptFlex. So it's our birthing simulator. So it's also a bestseller, so that always helps. Fantastic tool. So it was designed in conjunction with the Prompt Foundation up at Southmead Hospital. So Kathy Winters and Tim Drake got there. And it's all about shoulder stocia. So all about training staff and those multidisciplinary teams in how to effectively manage shoulder stocia. And they've done some work. They've done some clinical validation and some papers up at Southmead, and they basically found with regular training with the correct techniques on the prompt trainer, you can reduce the brachial plexus injuries with with effective training. So you still get the shoulder stowship, but actually if you manage it properly through good training, you reduce drastically the number of actual brachial plexus injuries that children suffer. So yeah, from that perspective, that's a top dog.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that you said that because the one that you've mentioned is probably the one that we use the most. So recently our sim mum broke and we was left without a birthing simulator.
Yeah.
So one of the ideas that one of the maternity staff had is that they would use this task trainer and they would position it where it was meant to go on her.
Yeah.
And then we do some kind of secret cover with the sheets and, some skin coloured leggings. And then, this becomes part of the mother who's giving birth. And they essentially either push the baby out or we have like a partner who sometimes holds the baby. So, as if it was a shoulder dystocia, so they can't quite get the baby out. So it's actually one of our favourites as well.
Yeah, I think it's the versatility of it. It's really simple at its core. There's nothing super fancy about it, but it gets the job done, which is why I really like it. I love, I'm sure we'll chat about this. I love tech, super geeky, but actually, there's something beautiful about the pure, simple products that do effective training. And how throwing a few blankets, a few bed sheets over something can transform something that doesn't necessarily look, the most high fidelity, but actually is really cool still.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've learned is that you can never have too much lube in those situations.
Yeah, honestly, the worst thing about my job is, and probably one of the worst things to you as well, is forgetting that you've got lube on your hands or not quite washing it off before lunch. And then you go to grab your sandwich and you get a nice mouthful of lube at the same time on that one spot of your finger you've missed.
Yeah, and I think it's just the smell. And what's worse about the lube, I don't know if you've noticed this, is so what we used to do is you used to pre-lube the baby and then just kind of leave it. And then you come back in half an hour and the lube is no longer lube.
Yeah.
It's become this like glue. It's like the complete opposite of what I wanted it to do. Everything's now stuck.
Yeah. A little bit of spritz of spray water sometimes gets around that, so you can get the lube on, sort of re-lubricates it. But yeah, I was working on a bit of a project for a catheterization trainer. We were making a new formulation of lube last year, so we found the lube was slightly too viscous, that it was sort of the eyelet on the end of the catheter. It was getting clogged up basically. So we formulated a new slightly thinner lube. And yeah, I just spent days with our materials specialist, just getting covered in different different versions of lube, and then going all over my trousers, all over my shirt, everything.
Yeah, I think I heard about this new lube actually. I think it was from Martin. So I had Martin down here a couple of weeks ago, and he was showing me the new Mamaran.
Oh, cool.
And I know Limbs and Things have been working closely with Laydell and getting Mamaran. I think he was trying to sell us on the new lube, saying if you're getting the new mannequins, probably invest in some of the new lube that's coming out with it.
And what did you think of Mamaran?
Yeah, so like I say, our sim mum's broke. So recently we've been doing a lot of demos from all the other different sim mum-esque kind of mannequins. And unfortunately, we had one demo left to do. And I don't know if you know much about Avkin. So what Avkin do is they have this wearable birthing simulator.
It's in a few conferences. It looks cool.
Yeah, and that was the last one on, and it was planned for today, but unfortunately, it's had to go in for. I think the babies had to go in for a refurb, so we're not able to make it. But after all of the demos and all of the discussions, I think the vote is kind of sitting with Mamaran at the moment. And I know it's not quite ready for release, but we're looking at the quotes and stuff, and I think that's generally where our direction's going. The team was really impressed with its fidelity and how all the jobs that it can do. I think they've really listened to a lot of feedback from users and taken all of the bad things from SimMum and put them into Mamaran.
Yeah, no, definitely. So my colleague Nick Jolmy, who's been at LIMS for over 30 years now, he's the product manager that looks after SimMol from a LIMS perspective. And yeah, they were really extensive with their evaluation process, making sure they were going out and really listening to what people were saying, taking all those learnings from SimMol, which is a fantastic product, how it's sort of kept up still, even with some of the newer generations. But yeah, it looks really good. We have it in the office, and we all have a little go at it every so often. So yeah, the ease of use as well is I think something that's with newer technologies. There's definitely demand in the market to make things as easy to use as possible.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, we had our sim mum for 10 years, and by the end, she'd given, I could only imagine how many births she'd actually given. But I never saw her at the start of her journey. But for the last couple of years, she was a little bit unreliable. And, when you press the give birth button, or, 50% of the time it would probably get stuck in some crevice, or, the shoulder would get stuck, because of the joints of the baby. Or the new man, something would fail on it, and I just lost my confidence in using it. But looking at the Mama Ann and just seeing simple and how effective it just comes out every time, I felt really reassured and confident in being able to use it. You spoke a little bit about evaluation there. How does LIMS and things manage to get user information and put that into practical use for further models?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So evaluations are a bit of an art as well, but also need to be very scientific at the same time. We need sort of quantitative data that we can reliably use then for product development. One thing, and I'm sure you're aware of working lots of medics, is everyone's got their own opinion.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, one person's perfect is another person's terrible. So yeah, what we tend to, we've got a pretty robust system now where what we'll do is when we get to certain stage gates in a development process, so generally end of proof of concept, so when we've got sort of the bare bones of what we're trying to develop, if it's something new, maybe certain features or certain aspects that are new. So you might not have a whole model at that stage, but we'll have certain aspects that we go out. We'll go out to a mixture of people generally. So what we try and do is get feedback from sort of the clinical staff, and then also the technical staff as well, because these products are used by we've got. But then students as well. You've got three, I suppose, very distinct stakeholders that want to use something, that all have different wants and needs from the products. So we'll go out. We spend a good bit of time in-house trying to get things as right as we can. So we've got some medical consultants as well in-house that we work with to make sure we're getting things as close as we can. And before we go out and show people, we'll then basically write a list of questions and queries that we've got about what we've produced so far. So does this certain aspect feel right? Is that baby's is the orientation of that baby what it would be in real life? Those sorts of questions that we really want to sort of fine tune. We'll then go find depending on what product it is, use some of the relationships that we've built up over the last 30 odd years as a company, show people what we've got, ask them the questions, and one of the keys is making sure that it's not keeping it as objective as possible, not trying to put our spin on things as well, because obviously we all have an opinion, we all have thoughts as well about what things should be. So making sure we're as objective as possible, going out, showing people, just basically absorbing, just listening, asking those few asking a few open questions that get people talking, write all that down, then spend a good week or so sort of digesting what's been said, and then taking it from there. One of the harder aspects, I suppose, sometimes is regional differences as well. So obviously we're UK based. It's very easy to be UK centric, as we all can be. We all think this is the way it's done. So making sure that actually, and it's really easy for us to get out to the UK as well and see people. So making sure that we are actually going out and speaking to people around the world. So we're I think through a distribution network, we sell in over 106 different countries now. So actually making sure that we've got things that are suitable for the whole world, especially the Americas market as well.
Do you get to go to like different conferences around the world, or are you not that lucky?
No, so definitely lucky in that aspect. I've been on the conference scene, I suppose, in my last job as well. So for the last 10 years, sometimes they get a little bit wearing, but they're fantastic to see what's going on. I've been very fortunate to go to IMSH in the States last year, and then I'm heading over in Jan, just coming up. Which was my first 2 trips to America. Well, my first trip was last year to San Diego, which was really cool. That's a good one to tell your friends when you're going to. But yeah, no, we get to go around as best we can to the different conferences. So we go to CESAM, etc. We was up in Scotland at ASPE this year as well. So we go listen to what everyone's saying. It's great for us to interact and see what our sales team in action as well. So it's a good opportunity to see the sales teams, see how customers are interacting with the sales team, see how customers are interacting with the products, see what other people are up to as well. And then listening to the scientific program, seeing, the wider simulation market, what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, has any golden nuggets come from any conferences? Just speaking to people, have you ever grabbed a great idea that has just been passed over?
I haven't per se, but you tend to sort of look around, speak to customers, and it's normally accumulation of sort of 3 or 4 different things that you see. You think, how can we pull that together? So one of our most recent products that myself and one of our fantastic medical artists, Renska, worked on and launched was our augmented reality training. So basically, we were looking around and see what the market was doing and seeing actually we need to move on with the times and we need to get technology in our products. There's loads out there for virtual reality and stuff like that. And it was like, okay, how can we incorporate virtual reality into our products? And we're predominantly task trainer market, so we're looking generally procedural skills, things like that. And what we wanted to make sure we did is a big advocate for only doing things for the right reasons, not just doing things for the sake of it. So we were like, how can we add this technology but not make it not just do it for the sake of it, add real value. So yeah, we sort of looked at all the virtual reality stuff and worked out what we could do. And then for our specific trainers, augmented reality is the way to go. Cheap, accessible, value for money, really adds a whole benefit to the learning, we hope, for the students. So yeah, those sorts of ideas we sort of got from looking around, seeing what's going on in the market, and then pulling things together and spitting out something new.
Yeah, I think I've seen I think again it was a maternity thing where you can use an iPad to look inside and see where the baby's sitting?
Yeah, great. Yeah, so literally it's a little mat you put underneath the products, free app on your phone or on your tablet, and yeah, it uses the tracking, the mat underneath as like a tracking point, and then it will overlay the image on top of it. So I suppose it's almost like peeling back the layers or like a 3D textbook. So I did a lot of biochem, especially when I was at university, and trying to picture these, like, you see the 2-dimensional photos of things and trying to see them and understand them in a 3-dimensional space. I think I could read a textbook for a whole day and not get it. I could see a video or an image of something for 5 minutes and go, got it. That's what it is. So that's sort of the premise we were trying to get to with it is, can we, the thing for us, the sting is still the physical trainer. It's still none of those haptics of say, putting an epidural in. That's the real skill. If you can see a really cool animation in 3D and augmented reality first to go, okay, these are the layers I'm going through, hopefully it can make the ability of learning the actual physical skill quicker, more effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's also, really exciting, isn't it? It pulls people away from just what might be quite a little bit of a dry subject, something that they've probably done before, and then you integrate something like this. It's like it becomes a whole new experience, really fresh, and it's something that they'll take away because they'll remember it.
Yeah, definitely. It's all so obviously with a teaching background, did a lot about pedagogy. And my wife's a teacher as well, so she's done a master's education. So I do pick her brain quite often about the advances in disciplines, and it's a lot about that. Yeah, that putting the onus on the students sometimes to learn some of the basics beforehand, and then use the time they've got with the experts to ask those questions to discuss, rather than the experts in the room teaching them the basics, which they can get from other bits. So a better use of time, I suppose, for the tutors, those sorts of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see that, Limbs and Things are rolling with the upcoming ideas of virtual reality. Is there anything else on the horizon? Anything new, up and coming?
Yeah, so we've just in the last year we've just launched probably the most sophisticated product we've ever launched. So we've got CARE, which is this cardiovascular and respiratory examination trainer. So I suppose it's a task trainer but extended. So it's almost like a diagnostic trainer. So it's on a different level to anything we've done before. It's full of tech, and the idea being is that you can basically teach anything from very beginner skills. So learning to take a pulse, learning to take a respirate, those sorts of things, learning what's a normal heart sound like, to then learning the pathological versions of all those things. So it's like scaffolding, giving you stepping stones. And then the final level you can do is the diagnostics. So you can put all those things together, and sort of like at the touch of a button, you can change it from being a tension pneumothorax case. You can go, okay, we've got that now. Pause, jump back to normal. That's the differences between the two. So rather than going after and find patients and find different people with these pathologies, you can literally go, there's this case on a model, listen to that, understand what that is. If you need to, you can jump back to normal and understand that. If you need to, you can isolate the heart sounds, you can isolate the lung sounds, rather than having it all together. So obviously, I'm not clinical by any stretch of the imagination, and when I'm trying to listen to some of these heart sounds, the heart sound, the lung sound, you're like, I just need to. Can I isolate that? Oh yeah, I can. I can press pause. I can jump onto the heart sound by itself, hit play again. Oh, okay, I've got that. Jump back into the full case and then try and isolate. So yeah, we're trying to do a lot of that scaffolding, and I suppose allowing for the independent learning. If that we know people talk about it quite a lot. It'd be interesting to hear actually what you think about how you guys do that. We know some places love to allow their students hands-on with some of the kit. Some people are a bit reticent about it. So yeah, we're trying to make sure things are able to sort of do some self-directed learning if needed.
Yeah, I mean, all the things that you're discussing there are things that we find challenging every single day. Although we predominantly do simulation here, so high fidelity simulation, and we're part of something called medical education. So we do task trainers in other rooms as well. But what we like to do is we like to take the best bits from task trainers and implement it into simulation. So all the stuff you talked about being able to listen and hear, we'd like to bring that into the simulation room. And one of the things that we've done at the moment is we're playing around with sounds and breathing sounds and heart sounds, and how we make that into the simulation itself. So what we started doing is we've cut the stethoscope, we've cut the ear parts off of the stethoscope,
Yeah.
and we've replaced it with AirPods.
Oh, cool.
And so what we actually do is when they put the stethoscope on, they put the earpods in the AirPods in their ears, and then we play the sounds, the breathing sounds from our phone to the AirPods. So they can literally listen. They go through listening to their lobes, and we're literally pressing which sounds they're listening to in real time. The next step for us is, how do we get those sounds to play in the debrief room so everyone can hear what's going on? Because we're finding that in simulations, sometimes it can turn into let's pretend. So they'll just get a stethoscope and they'll put it on, and they're not really listening to anything. And if they are listening to something so faint, they don't know what they're listening to. So we're trying to all the things that you've talked about there, implement it into the sim room. And one day I'm hoping that we'll have one mannequin that does every single thing. But at the moment, we're just not quite there, are we?
Yeah. one mannequin to rule them all, and in the darkness bind them.
That's it. One that has, the realism of maybe a life cast mannequin, with the functionality of all the limbs and things task trainers, and then, you put this into one mannequin and it does everything.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see. Do you think there's an increased need for the realism, the high fidelity in models? Obviously, everything's starting to look better. You mentioned LifeCast there. Do you find students interact better with the high fidelity, more realistic looking models?
Yeah, well, it's double edged. So we have a variety of different mannequins, ranging from life cast, mainly pediatric life casts. So we've got babies and children, and we like them to be real because mainly we would prefer an actor to be in the bed when a participant walks in rather than a mannequin.
Yeah.
But occasionally, you're going to do something to the patient that you can't do to a real person. So if you want to intubate them or, reveal them unethically, then we can't use a real person. We've got to use a mannequin. And what we're finding is that you're always going to have a better experience as a participant dealing with a real person. The non-verbal cues, the body language, the communication. It's always going to be better with a real person compared to a mannequin. And so, mannequins have a place for us, but, we're stepping away from mannequins a little bit more every time. But again, like I say, we do have life cast mannequins, but sometimes, they can be too real. Have you seen the life cast baby?
Yeah.
It looks really ill.
Yeah.
Some people come in and they think, "Oh my God, the baby's dead."
Yeah.
And we don't know what we don't know what the people have had the day before. So sometimes they can be too real.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, I didn't think about those sorts of things.
Yeah, and again, a mannequin. It's almost like the staple of a simulation center these days, isn't it? But sometimes they can come into the room, and if they see a mannequin on the bed, it's this rigid plastic doll. It almost breaks immersion straight away, doesn't it? Because they know they're going into a training environment. Where actually, if you had a real person there, I think you always get a better response with a real person.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I always think is when we've really nailed some of our trainers is when you see the one that instantly comes to mind in my head is our deeply impacted fetal head model for cesarean section, and it doesn't look hyper realistic, but actually the feel. So we worked with a doctor called Katie Corthwaite on development of it, and she's sort of an expert in the area, and when you see clinicians suddenly switch into real mode, you're like, that's it. Yeah, the immersion's there, and they're like, okay, this is a real life scenario almost, and they're really trying to practice their skills properly. So I think when you can get that right, and when people treat the trainers as they would treat a real patient, that's when I think you've really got something special.
Yeah, and I tell that every time I do a little bit of an introduction to the sim room is that right now you're hyper focused on the microphones and the cameras, but I can guarantee when the door comes in and you walk in, you're going to forget about all the microphones and the cameras because your instinct takes over. And if we've immersed you properly, you're going to be focused on what's going on around you rather than microphones and the cameras.
So who do you do the most training for? Is it medical students still, or in
the majority? We do a little bit of everything, but again, we have a massive maternity cohort that comes through, mainly because they have to do simulation every year. It's almost like mandatory training for them. So every single midwife has to come through simulation every year. But then it's the same for, foundation doctors are always coming through, undergrads are always coming through. But yeah, I would say the main chunk, it could even be maternity. I'd probably say that they might be the lion's share of what comes through the simulation centre at the moment.
Yeah, so it leads into sort of the prompt flex being some of the most used trainer for you guys.
Yeah. Just one more question before we look at wrapping things up.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Adam Gel?
Adam Gel? I don't think I have.
Okay, so something that it's very big in the tech community at the moment. Like I say, I was just wondering if Limbs and Things have heard of it because it's it kind of does what you guys are doing at the moment. So Adam gel is kind of like the best way I can describe it is that Adam stands for 4 chemicals, and you mix it together and it comes up with this flesh-like silicone gel that molds into like as limbs and things might do. You can make little task trainers.
Okay. So like a chemical.
Like a silicone kind of thing, yeah. But they're making it for pennies. It's super cheap, and most people are trying to base it off of limbs and things models. So they're trying to recreate. For instance, a popular one is the venipuncture arms.
Yeah.
And what they're doing is they're creating it using Adam's gel, making a mold, but then they're using like balloons full of blood for the veins, like party balloons, the long ones.
Yeah.
And they're creating these little task trainers. And I'm just wondering if limbs and things even know that this thing's out there, because
No, yeah. Some people. I haven't. We come across all sorts of different bits like this all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're always looking at new materials that we can use as well. Within, so one of the big things most like trying to ultrasound materials, like point of care ultrasounds is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and some of these basic skills you'd learn by palpation, especially over in the States, they want to learn it via ultrasound as well. So we're always looking at new materials and seeing using chemical materials, especially see what's in there.
I'm getting them to come on, and so there's a whole group dedicated to this. Like you say, you can find it on the internet, but they're going to come on and do a podcast later on in the start of next year.
Oh, awesome! I'll definitely make sure I listen to that one.
All right. Finally, then, one last thing is, if people want to learn more about limbs and things or connect with you and your team, what's the best way to get hold of you?
Website is always the best way. So if you can go to the website, we've got a contact us form. We've also got, especially based in the UK, we've got a team of 4 fantastic sales reps that are out and about, and that I'm sure many of you know. So yeah, if you either get through them, and if you want to, if anyone's ever got any ideas or wants to talk about anything they've got, then myself and my team are always more than happy to chat to people. So yeah, you can either get hold of us through those guys, or if you go on the website, we've got like a contact us form, then that always makes its way through to us.
Brill. Well, thank you very much for your time, Phil. Thank you for coming on and talking to me today.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. And like you say, hopefully this is the first of many. Maybe we can, bring out something more specific next time, and we can, hone down and get a few people on. So if anybody's listening that wants to talk about a limbs and things task trainer that they're enjoying, they're using, they're having challenges with, please reach out and we'll get you on, and we'll get a couple of limbs and things guys on, and we'll maybe have a little bit of a chat. But for now, thank you, Phil. Thank you, Limbs and Things, and we'll see you next time. Ta-ra. And that brings us to the end of this episode of the SimTech podcast. A huge thank you to Phil from Limbs and Things for sharing his invaluable insights into development, innovation, and the exciting future of clinical simulation. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share this episode with your colleagues. Have thoughts, questions, or ideas for future topics? Reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in simulation. Until next time, take care.